All right, first I'm going to talk about something that's at the top of everybody's mind, I guess. It's about Thunder. Thunder is a custom-built layer 2 payment channel-based layer 2 on Ethereum. And it was not initially on our roadmap, but we decided to build it anyway because we didn't find existing L2 solutions that are either, they require a token to operate or they are in some way or form too centralized. So Thunder is completely non-custodial and it was built for atomic swap use case. It's completely open source. It's going to be, fully reviewable. You guys can all check it out. We encourage users to use it for low fees. And obviously there's some discontent in the community that it may have been a fork of Raiden or Arbitrum or something else. Completely false. It was completely built, custom built from ground up. And we actually have a partnership with Raiden. We like them. And our swap SDK integrates Raiden and other ETH2 solutions like Arbitrum. Users are free to pick any ETH2 that they want if they have Raiden tokens, and if they want to use their pathfinding service and et cetera, they're free to use Raiden, Arbitrum, or just use Thunder. After our security audits, it'll be completely open, and you can check out the GitHub at your own, schedule whenever you want. All right, so there's a question about Portal SDK. What does Portal SDK offer users? So Portal SDK is basically packs all the client-side logic and plumbing needed to connect with various network contracts and the Portal OS. You can basically drag and drop it into whatever application that it is you're building. Let's say you're building a wallet service or some kind of a client logic on top of a wallet. You can integrate the swapping functionality, cross-chain DEX functionality into your app in minutes by using our Swap SDK. All right, say next question. What's a layer 2 swap? L2 swap, basically there are two ways to do an atomic swap. One is a layer 1 atomic swap, in which case there's a contract that you put on a layer 1, which is you make so there are two people who meet and they want to exchange their respective coins on different blockchains. And there's some exchange that happens, basically a public key hash exchange that happens. And then we agree on a price and the amount of coins being swapped. And so I lock up some of my coins using the secret, the preimage of which only I hold. And then I pass along that to you, and then you lock up your coins on your blockchain using that same secret. There's a little bit of a difference in time lock. So the only way I can take your coins is by revealing my preimage of the secret, and then you can use that to take my coins within a specific time period. That's a layer 1 swap. A layer 2 swap is different in the sense that the contracts look very similar, but the inputs into these contracts are not actually updated on chain, just like the input is a Lightning transaction, right? It basically updates the balances. When you take my coins and I take your coins, they're not instantly settled on chain. They're instantly settled because it is off chain, just like rebalancing Lightning channel balances. Another question. What is the language in which the Swap SDK is written? It's JavaScript. Eventually, we will extend to other languages based on the demand from the developer community. Next question from H. Is there a timeline for product launch? Is there an updated timeline for tasks to get done? Yes, we actually have our product roadmap is available and open to everyone. It's on go.portaldefi.com/roadmap. It's an interactive roadmap. I think you guys can play with it. We will post that link again in the community chat if you want. Next question, is Lightning going to be the only Bitcoin L2 available or others being considered? As of now, Lightning is compatible with our swaps. There are not many other Bitcoin L2s that have adoption. You can say Lightning, Portal itself is its own L2. Portal DEX it's a layer 2 based system. Similar, I guess it's not similar to Lightning, but it's analogous to Lightning, purpose-built for cross-chain swaps. But any other Bitcoin layer 2 protocol that gets adoption, we would hope to integrate. Arc, when it's out, we can integrate that. Next question, how do cross-chain swaps lead to hyper-Bitcoinization? All right, this goes back to our thesis and the entire reason why Portal exists. First, let's define hyper-Bitcoinization. Hyper-Bitcoinization is basically a speculative attack on a fiat currency. It's hypothesized by the guys at the Nakamoto Institute. It's nothing but when Bitcoin becomes the good money and everybody's trading their currencies to actually accumulate Bitcoin. At some point, people stop using the other currency as the intermediary currency, and then they basically do all their profits and losses and accounting in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin becomes a unit of account. And then there's no real reason or use case for using inferior currencies, and then they're ditched. And that's the process of Bitcoinization. We think process of Bitcoinization takes many speculative cycles or price spirals, like we've seen in 2012, 2017, 2020 to 2021. And each one, the nature of these price spirals has been that each wave of adoption, influx of capital, price spiral, draws in new users. And because of the supply constraints built into the protocol, it's going to be bigger than the last one. For that to happen, what are people trading against Bitcoin? It can't always be fiat against Bitcoin because fiat gateways and bridges are vulnerable and they can be closed at any time. So typically these trading activities, speculations go through other blockchain assets like Ethereum, ERC20s in 2017, NFTs maybe, whatever else is coming next, Web3, real world assets, whatever else. So you need to have other assets that you trade Bitcoin against. But the biggest problem for that right now is centralized exchanges have custody risk. They can lose your money. They can leak your data. And so having a trust minimized cross-chain protocol that interoperates across many different blockchain assets and Bitcoin is a precursor. It's a necessary step to hyper-Bitcoinization. And that's why we're in this to build. Okay, so next question. What is the cross-chain AMM and how is it different from P2P swaps and why do we need both? Great question. So the first thing we're going to be releasing, which should be open to the public in the testnet in the next week or two, we're in the process of fixing some UI bugs, but the V0 P2P swaps, you can do everything you can with as you can with V1, except a couple of things. There are no incentives for people to actually provide liquidity. When you have an automated market maker, you actually have to have incentives for people to actually fill the reserves and for people to have liquidity to trade against. So that's the difference between V0 that'll be live soon and the V1 testnet that'll be launched hopefully by in the next 6 weeks or so. And there are incentives for people to provide liquidity. There are incentives for people to actually maintain the logic and the accounting of who's owed what, who's provided how much liquidity, and then the validator network, basically the portal network, is a way to remove all of that computation, all of those operations from having to be done on layer ones on each chain and to be done efficiently on their own chain. And why would people do that? Of course, they have to be incentivized. Liquidity providers are incentivized. And that's what provides the traders with the liquidity that they need to trade against. And it's basically, that's the difference between layer one and, V0 and V1 with the cross-chain AMM. Okay, why can't I see anything on GitHub yet? That's because we haven't made it public yet. As the product goes live, you'll see the GitHub repo corresponding to that. And as the wallet goes live, you'll see the GitHub repo corresponding to that. Product first, security audits first, and then open source. Mikal says, when are you going to open source your code as a standard in this industry? Exactly, like I said, as soon as the product is ready for users in its testing form, the repo will be made public. Your claims that we built Ethereum layer 2 in 3 weeks is incredulous. We don't care. You'll see it when you see it. And like I said, it was a layer 2 built, custom designed for atomic swaps, and there wasn't any like that. And actually, we worked closely with the Raiden team. It was a project that we've like from day one, and there were some issues with it, which was that it wasn't made for P2P swaps. It was custom designed for payments, micropayments and stuff, which is a slightly different use case, and we had to build our stuff. It doesn't mean that we don't integrate Raiden or Arbitrum or any other ETH layer 2s. They all have their functionalities, and users are free to pick what they want. Thunder is going to be cheaper with much lower fees, and you don't have to have another token to operate with it. So, and we're not making money off of it. It's open source. You guys can use it. Why isn't it open to the greater state channel community? Start your code. It will be. Absolutely, it will be. Do you have to use Portal to use Thunder? No. Anybody can use Thunder and integrate it into your specific swap or payment channel application. It's not gated, and it's not designed to be gated. Will Thunder allow native ETH L2 swaps or only ERC20s? It actually does both. You can say that's one of the big differences to the existing payment channel-based L2s. Next question is about Portal OS. All right. So Portal OS is basically the thing that it's a piece of node software configured to run a set of services required for the Portal P2P network. So it runs all of the nodes in a single click install, right? All of the supported networks. And on top of that, it runs all of the services that you need to interact with Portal. Its main function is to coordinate between different networks. You can see some of these pieces are analogous to, like, for example, Layer 0 or IBC or Interswap, etc. The cross-blockchain communication systems that exist today are insufficient to do what we're doing, because there's no requirement from on the ETH contracts to actually have to depend on what's happening on the Bitcoin chain or vice versa. Bitcoin chain is completely agnostic of the contract states on Ethereum. Yes, you can say that somebody actually reads from this and relays that messages to this specific contract and updates that, but that's again centralized. You can decentralize it to a certain extent by actually introducing another blockchain or a consensus mechanism in the middle. In the Portal OS, the coordinator does those functions automatically. And it's a necessary but not sufficient component to do what we're doing. But it's part, and it's built as a part of Portal OS. Next question. I thought Portal was building a DEX, but now it's a DEX protocol. What is that? Okay, so Portal will have a DEX, but it is a proof of concept. The goal is for any of the single chain DEXs to be able to use this to interoperate with any other supported layer ones without having to go through a custodial bridge. You don't have to go through a wrapping mechanism. You don't have to go through centralized or decentralized bridges. So if you're a single chain DEX, you can interoperate and use Bitcoin, for example, in the operations of your network. So there will be a DEX, but it's not the end all and be all. We support all DEXs, all single chain DEXs can use this. Next question. I like a blockchain. When will it be added to the Portal DEX? It's entirely up to the community. Of course, we are starting with the ones that have the most adoption right now. Doesn't mean that that'll be the end all be all. We will support as many as users want and the validators want. What is the value of this in terms of liquidity? Well, so liquidity is good. We all agree that more liquidity is good. Right now, it's locked up in all of these different silos. You have ETH bridges, you have Solana bridges, you have all sorts of these different things, and everybody wants liquidity to be locked up on their bridge. So they get the metrics of TVL, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem with that is to the end user, it's inefficient. There's a lot of slippage. The goal for the Portal Interchain Liquidity Network is to unify that liquidity without having to lock it up on our own chain or any of that sort. It is to provide a seamless access to liquidity wherever it is and to increase the overall efficiency of the cross-chain AMM. So you wouldn't need to jump through two bridges and a DEX to do what you want to do. For Bitcoiners, the value is proposition is easy. You can access all of the DeFi functionality available on all the different chains. And for other chain users like ETH or other chain asset users, you can seamlessly save or store your value in Bitcoin anytime you want without having to jump through a centralized exchange or some other custodial intermediary. Is the Portal wallet still going to come out? Absolutely. It'll be available as a web app as well as on iOS App Store and Android. Like I said, it's not the only wallet that we support. It is designed to be a proof of concept. It is designed to show what can be done. Of course, it sets some standards in terms of functionality, security, et cetera, but developers are free to build the same or more functionality into anything that they're building. Terry, my English isn't the best. Will there be more language options for users? Yes. How many, how fast? We're working on it. But we're starting with the universal adapted language, which is English. And most of the translation work will be based on user demand. I'm interested in being a validator. How do I get to be a validator? Well, I think we have posted a link for people who want to be testnet validators in our community. We will post it again. We'll update it. You will actually get a set of requirements, and they have to be met before people, can be testnet validators. And before the testnet's live, of course, we're going to announce the set of initial testnet validators that are meet those criteria. Will there be API access to what? SWAP SDK, yes. Yes. So another question is, why can't I run all of these nodes myself on all these supported chains? You can, you totally can. Portal OS just makes it super easy, so you don't have to. You can run all of those supported network nodes independently, configure your own setup, use the coordinator as a piece and run all of these individual services. They're all built modularly, but for people who want the functionality and ease of a one-click install, that's the value prop. I mean, we wanted this for our own use. We didn't find anything available out there. I mean, there's a lot of talk about infrastructure services and cloud, node providers and node runners and all that stuff, but the software side is severely lacking. So we have to build it for our own use, and it makes total sense to just let anybody use it, even if you don't want to be a validator. Will there be a token? Yes, the Portal DEX network, like I said, the incentive design requires a token. We've actually written about this. We may have even posted a link to this in the community chat. The difference between V0 and V1 is not the functionality per se, but it is the use that is brought on by having incentives. Why would anybody provide liquidity to this new network? Why would anybody validate all of the transactions happening on this new network? And what incentivizes traders is the liquidity and efficiency. So that's the difference between V0 of swaps and V1. And the network token is designed to specifically address that problem. Are you selling a token? No, we're not selling a token. We never did, and we never are going to do a public sale of any sort of a token. Do you need to raise more funding before this launch? No, we don't need to. Portal, the company, is well capitalized. Like we've said, we don't have any exposure to anything that happened in the industry, whether it's bridge collapses, whether it's centralized exchange collapses, or some mainstream banks. We're well capitalized, we're well set. We don't need to raise more funding before launch. Okay. If you have any specific questions about investments, your investment, or in general, I want to reiterate that this is not a financial advice or investment advice. If you are an existing investor, you know how to reach us. You're on the mailing list, and you know where to get your questions answered. This community call is not designed for that. I joined this Zoom call late. Where can I find the recording? Great question. It should be on our YouTube channel, but we can also post a link to this in our Telegram community. All right. Would there be a token launched? I mean, I think I've already addressed this question before. Elise Hawkins says, can you share an update at where you're at, progress and development? Again, like I said, the roadmap is transparent and available. You will see V0 P2P swaps launched in the next week or two. And then the testnet for V1 within weeks of that. And there's the next question. When applying to be a validator, what are the criteria that you're looking for? Actually, the criteria will be published. You have to have some basic technical competence, hardware and software requirements. And if we will actually publish these criteria, we're keeping it so that we pick the best validators. This is an iterative process. It's not just a hard set of criteria. We want to get the best of the best for the testnet validation. If you're interested, I strongly recommend that you guys apply. Okay, I think we're on time. We started a few minutes late. We're running a few minutes late. I'd like to thank everybody for joining, and we will do this frequently. We will do this regularly, and we will provide progress on updates to everybody in the community. If you have any questions that you don't think have been answered in this call, you're welcome to post them in our Telegram room, and we'll answer them as fast as we can.